Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, and I'm back with another review. And this time I saw U.S. Marshals. This is a thriller film directed by Stuart Baird, and it stars Tommy Lee Jones, Wesley Snipes, Robert Downey Jr., Joe Pantoliano, Kate Nelligan, and Irene Jacob. In this film, U.S. Marshal Sam Gerard is accompanying a plane load of convicts from Chicago to New York. The plane crashes spectacularly and Mark Sheridan escapes, but when diplomatic security agent John Royce is assigned to help Gerard recapture Sheridan, it becomes clear that Sheridan is more than just another murderer. So, what did I think of U.S. Marshals? Well, again, the only reason I watched this was it was already on my watch list. I was kind of curious if there was something in this kind of worthwhile, because it is a spin-off slash sequel to The Fugitive from 1993, which I just reviewed. Um, and I do like this film. Um, if not mostly for certain subversions that I think are well done, some decent action actually. This one throws in a few more set pieces in terms of that. And yeah, overall I still had a fun time, even though I wouldn't say it's as good as The Fugitive. But let me get to the cast. Tommy Lee Jones plays Samuel Gerard. He plays the same character from the first film. Um, again, Tommy Lee Jones seemingly having a lot of fun working on this. Uh, gives a good performance. Wesley Snipes plays Mark Sheridan. Wesley Snipes is an actor I do quite enjoy. I still haven't seen Blade, but I've seen Tu Wong Fu. I think he's a lot of fun in that. Demolition Man, he plays a fantastic villain. Um, Passenger 57, I think, is a fun film, if a bit like unremarkable. I think he's decent in Chaos. Um, so I've seen like a decent amount of his films. Uh, I think he does a great job here as the well, it's kind of confusing. He's not really like our main protagonist. Tommy Lee Jones is kind of more of our hero in this, and I'll explain that. But I like Wesley Snipes in the film. I think his acting is fine. I just kind of wish he had a bit more to do. Robert Downey Jr. plays Royce. He's the FBI or the diplomatic security agent uh, sent in to help Samuel Gerard and everybody else. This was around the time where Robert Downey Jr. was getting over the drug shit, so he was taking a bunch of small roles to, pay for shit. Um, I really like Robert Downey Jr. as an actor. Always enjoyed Iron Man. I even like him in Natural Born Killers. Excuse me for all the ums and uhs. It's just how I roll. Unfiltered. But he works in the film. Joe Pantoliano plays Cosmo Renfro again. He's still fun. Kate Nelligan plays Walsh, who's Samuel's superior, but at least they don't do that stupid 90s thing where they started having women in those positions and they're just like assholes. She genuinely cares for him, and it's kind of hinted at that they had a fling or something. So she's like really wanting um him to stay safe. And Irene Jacob plays Marie, who is Mark's girlfriend. She's my main issue with the film. Well, one of them. I don't think her acting is that good. I'm aware that she is French. She's a French-born Swiss actress. She's been in French film. She's been in French art house stuff. She probably acts a lot better in her native language, but here she is kind of distracting at times. But yeah, U.S. Marshals. Um, I'm always for Wesley Snipes coming back into action films. apparently he was going to be in an Uwe Boll action film, which I'd be curious how that would turn out because I do think Wesley Snipes is a talented actor and fighter because he can do a lot of his own fighting. And I was expecting them to like kind of feed more into that with this film, and they didn't really do that. And I'm a little bit confused about it because he's not the same kind of characters in the first. Because Richard Kimball is a doctor, he wants to help people, doesn't want to hurt anybody. He didn't kill anybody in the first film, so it seems odd to switch it to this character and this actor, Wesley Snipes, who by this point people knew could do like his own fighting, he could actually do some of his own stunts. And there are multiple points in this film where I feel like he is doing his own stunts, especially that swing onto the subway. Um, but um, yeah, I don't think they took full advantage of that like they could have. Um, Wesley Snipes' character also, like I said, Samuel Gerard is basically your main character here. You're focusing on him most of the time. It takes a little bit for Wesley Snipes to properly come into the story, like about 15-ish minutes into the film. And this is about the same length as the first film. And I'd still say that it's decently paced for the most part. Um, but yeah, it does take a bit to get to him to the point where he kind of feels like a secondary character, even though he's kind of in the Richard Kimball role from the first. Even though this time again he's not a doctor, he's more of a like a government agent type thing that bought his own cover, something like that. So a little disappointed we don't get to see Wesley Snipes kick a lot of ass. Like he has a couple small tussles, but nothing like kung fu or martial arts oriented. Um, again, Tommy Lee Jones is still good, but it is kind of a double-edged sword because with Wesley Snipes not taking up a ton of screen time and not really being the lead hero or the main protagonist in this, it gives the other characters more time to shine. You get more time with Robert Downey Jr.'s character, with Tommy Lee Jones' character, developing him more from the last film, which I do like. I like learning new things about characters from previous films, and I like when it feels genuine. And this film, I do think it feels genuine. Um, Even getting into certain characters before, I'm not going to give it up, but something happens to a character that I was like genuinely a little bit in shock about. And I was like, damn, they actually set this up pretty well. So it didn't feel, you know, chucked in just to up the stakes. So I will give it that. Um, Again, Irene Jakob, I don't think does a good job with her performance in this film. She's kind of it feels like one of those situations like with Isabella Rossellini or a lot of these other like Italian, French actresses that come over to the US and start being in American movies where their acting isn't that great, but they're pretty to look at. That's kind of what's happening here. Again, not saying she's a bad actress in like her native French, but here she's not that good. Uh, Again, the language barrier might be hurting her. I don't know if she knows English. Maybe she learned the lines phonetically like Jean Reno for Leon, but I don't know. Uh, the editing, I was a bit shocked by how bad the editing was in places because the director, Stuart Baird, is an accomplished editor in Hollywood. He edited some of the Bond movies. Like he's a journeyman editor, been doing it for decades. And he didn't edit this. Somebody else edited that had worked on Martin Campbell films and other a lot of other people's films, and there are some really bad bits of editing here. Like some shots that go on just a tad too long, or like there's this shot where the camera's coming in behind Robert Downey Jr. following him through an office, and then it cuts to the camera being slightly to the side uh in the same shot with him in the same position. And I know it wasn't the like thing I watched the movie on's fault because I went back and it happened again. It's not like a glitch with my phone. So I was a little bit taken aback by that. I was like, wait, what? Why did that happen? And Hmm. there was there was another part where the editing was really weird, but it's mostly scenes that go on like slightly too long at a couple times. Uh but yeah, the editing was a little wonky in this for sure. Um and again, there is some lagging. Like there's bits where the film almost completely goes away from Wesley Snipes and it goes to a grinding halt. Um Even though I do think the twists in this film, just like the twists in the last film, are well set up, there are certain moments where I was like, does this need to be here? Like some of the stuff with his girlfriend felt kind of like thrown in so they had more like sneaking around hiding sequences, but still, I do want to talk about what I liked about this film because I overall did like it. The uh again, still really well done tension and the chase scenes and everything. There's some great action set pieces here. Stuart Baird, while not having directed a lot, he's directed three films. He directed this, Star Trek Nemesis, which is a bit divisive within the Star Trek uh, fandom. An Executive Decision, which I've gone up and down on Executive Decision. I do still think it is a bit too long, but I do still like it. I think the action in it is pretty well done. Here you have this bit where um the plane delivering the prisoners goes upside down and starts to crash and everybody's upside down and it's done practically. It's very well done. And this was around the same time that Air Force One came out and had that horrible CGI plane crashing, which is the worst fucking part of the movie. And here I was glad to see that even though it has apparently just a 1 million more dollar budget than the first film, the stunts are still very impressive and well staged and well executed. There's also a bit where Wesley Snipes grabs like a rope and swings to onto a subway train. I don't know if that was actually done by him. There's clearly shots of actual Wesley Snipes on the train, so I don't know. Maybe he did his own stunts. That would be cool if he did. I'd believe it. There's bits where Tommy Lee Jones is diving underwater, and I can tell it's Tommy Lee Jones actually doing that. I believe he'd do that. He's a very talented actor. Um, Again, the leads, Wesley Snipes, Tommy Lee Jones, Robert Downey Jr., all three do great jobs. Um, the direction from Stuart Baird, again, he knows what he's doing. I kind of wish he'd directed more. Um, but then again, I wish he'd edit his own films because his editing, the editing from whoever the fuck did this was not cutting it. And the score by Jerry Goldsmith, again, very accomplished. Uh, you know, musical score guy. Uh, composer. That's the term I'm looking for. But yeah, overall, I did still enjoy this film, if not as much as Fugitive, but yeah, I do still recommend it if you like the first Fugitive and want a little bit more of that type of action. But yeah, that was my review of U.S. Marshals. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever, and movie reviewer next door out.